August 25th, 2023, podcast number 7, Lathrop Mortgage Podcast here at our Evergreen Home Loans Olympia, Washington headquarters. So how are you doing today?
Ready to roll. It's a good one. Busy day today, economic-wise with Chairman Powell speaking at Jackson Hole and giving us an indicator of where his biggest concern in our market today, as ours is inflation. And with that being a concern, it's really time to, it's under control today. The market held its own, which is great. Rates are hanging in there, which is key because next week a lot of economic information comes out, including unemployment for the month of August, which will be a big factor next week. And there's a little fear out there of what these numbers are going to do. So
and something, I think this is kind of weird though. Can't the market anticipate what's going to happen? Obviously they can be wrong, but a lot of times I've heard that these things are kind of pre-factored in. So maybe the headlines that are coming out this week have been traded on last week even.
Well, they kind of anticipated that Powell wouldn't say anything outlandish today. I mean, what could he say? But what he did come out, and they held the line that they've all said, if we need to raise rates, we will, to keep inflation in line. And that's the bottom line. That's the undertone that we have to deal with. So with that being said, I don't think they built in the unemployment numbers for August yet, for next Friday. So those numbers and some of the numbers are being revised in the past, which is going to have an effect on the market. So with that being said, it's just a time that all boils back to me today. All I can think about is everybody be prepared and go out there and shop today. Well, the markets, here I'm speaking about Thurston County, and the market is pretty well stabilized. It's not crazy. It's stabilized. So if you want to go out and make an offer today, a seller's going to listen to you. It's not a crazy market where it's just going nuts. It's so it's better field to be playing in. With that is be prepared, have your offer ready to roll, be serious, and be able to perform. And that boils back to getting pre-approved, not pre-qualified. I mean, go to the distance, get it done, get everything ready to roll so you can put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you on getting pre-approved versus pre-qualified. And I have, thankfully, really smart customers that usually kind of pre-qualify themselves. But in some cases, even as good as most of my people are, they can still be off by like an amount that is significant enough to affect the qualification that they actually want. So they're thinking, oh, I'm not quite there. Like, oh, hey, you are. Did you know we can actually calculate your income this way, or I don't have to count that debt that you were counting? So really actually looking at it all the way versus just saying, oh, hey, I make, 110,000 per year. Is it exactly 110 or do you have any bonuses? Likewise, obviously can be less too. So really looking at that is the crucial factor there.
Exactly. What can actually be used? That's why you and I can look at it and we can make a great guesstimate. We can run it through an automated system. That doesn't make it real. What makes it real is the underwriter signs off on it and has analyzed what you just said. Can this be used? Can that be used? How long have I been receiving it? So then you've got a lead pipe guarantee on putting that together. And that's what you need in this market because you're going to get out there and sometimes you get one shot and make it work.
And let's actually talk about these approvals again. So when you make a loan application, the loan officer goes through and checks your application, makes any adjustments that they might need to, and then they press submit. It goes through an automated system. It's been this way for years. It says approve or deny. This is your automated approval. Based on those findings, you would then send it to a real underwriter, a human, and they would say, hey, you've got everything, this is right, or, oh, looks like you didn't catch everything, or your application doesn't jive, looks like there's something missing here. So the loan officer can input whatever they want on your application to get that approval to run. And a lot of times we will see, hey, how can I get this to work? And then we'll kind of figure out backwards how to get there. But I'm saying all of this to explain that your loan officer is inputting this and then getting an approval. That's not even close to the same as the underwriter saying, hey, I have an underwriting stamp that can actually get this loan approved and closed. This is good to go.
Absolutely. That's why I always say you get through the bottom line, get it done, because as great as SLOs think we are, we don't have that power.
Well, and do things ever change?
Every day. The other condition, I have a couple clients that are shopping, and it's like, find a property, shoot me the address so I can pull the taxes. Taxes vary substantially, even on properties right next door to each other. And also your HOAs. There could be a big chunk of an expense there that's not factored in. and make sure we have everything counted, because you don't want to get to the bottom line and be off by $14.28 and exceed your approval.
Yeah, I have a client condo shopping, and they were looking at this HOA, and oh, yeah, this should be in my price range. The HOA should be, I don't know, $200 a month. It was like $700. The building had a bunch of repairs that were needed, and they have these special assessments, which all the owners have to pay into to get these projects done, more or less, and it can raise your HOA. So this HOA was out of whack because the building was kind of in disrepair a little bit, and oh, that's eye-opening. So not only did it become unaffordable, but also, oh, maybe it wasn't as attractive because the management of the building indicated that it might not be a smooth living experience there. So you can really uncover a lot versus just looking on Zillow and saying, hey, my plugged-in taxes are this and my plugged-in HOA is that. Hopefully those things are all right. And I would say 90% of the time they're right.
I'd say that, and it's pretty easy to do a lot of homework that way. But I think it's really key to have that relationship with your agent, because they're working hard for you. It's a challenge out there. It's why you have an agent. You can't do this on your own. And
neither can we, right? Like we can go try to find all the contacts to call HOAs and figure this out, but oftentimes the real estate agent is going to have a better chance at getting a hold of sellers and owners and those types of things versus not everybody wants to talk to the finance guy. Especially
the HOA management companies. They've got like backdoor lines you can get through sometimes. And there's some that are fantastic to work with. Others, it's really nice, like I said, have your agent connections involved. And they're out there, doing their job. I mean, it's a full-time job out there. And that's the other thing is people are working at it, all the time, makes a difference. And it helps you get where you need to go.
And I would say that these underwritten pre-approvals are not crazy. I mean, it's just submit your pay stubs, bank statements, W-2s, your extra things, and then actually have it reviewed. It's not like some huge, long, drawn-out thing, maybe a couple extra days. But we talk about it so much because it's that important, not because it's that much extra work or it's so much harder. It just makes that big of a difference to really get your ducks in a row. Maybe take 2 or 3 extra days getting everything together and send it in, which you would have to do when your loan is in process anyway.
Well, absolutely. And I think the big variable is, like every house is not the same. Every client is not the same. You can get the person that works for the government, has a salary, has one bank relationship, and has three credit cards. Boom. It's pretty straightforward. Then you get the client that's got 6 partnerships, self-employed, all these other things involved, and you got to make sure you've reviewed all that stuff. And where's all the money coming from? That's the other key. Some people think, I can just show up my bank account. No, we have to document everything. Because of what happened in 2008, the question of where's this, where's that, your lender is on your side. They're working with you. So when they ask you for documents, it's to get it through the system up front so nothing happens in the 12th hour. They're not the FBI, but the rules have changed, so we almost feel like we're asking those kind of questions. But our job is to work with you to get it everywhere so your file and your approval is solid and there's no weakness out there. So it gives you the best opportunity to secure your loan and your home.
Well, and I would also say if your loan officers has to ask you for more stuff, they're probably embarrassed if they forgot to ask you in the first time, or maybe stuff does come up and you truly have to go back and get a few more things. Or, hey, your bank statement only had 3 out of 4 pages. I need that blank 4th page, even though it's left intentionally blank. Or, hey, I got your 22 tax returns twice. I need your, 21s and 22s. There can be all sorts of stuff of why you would have to get more documentation or say, hey, let's get this again, or the copy was blurry. And that's kind of a back and forth to get through that. That's just paperwork, though. That's I would call that kind of low work, like just little, hey, let's make sure all our little documents are in. But the big picture strategy stuff is kind of what we're more focused on.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of little pieces that go together to put it in position, and it's true. And like you said, a lot of people have a simple situation. Others have multiples. And then a lot of times people get a gift from a parent that they didn't tell you about, and this large deposit shows up, and you got to explain that. So lay it all on the table, because like I said, we're out there, we're working with you, not against you. And our job is to get your loan done. We're all working toward the same goal. And so that's what we want to do, make sure that it all happens as easy as possible. So yeah, there's a little effort and work that goes into it, because everybody doesn't have the technology to scan everything, and They don't realize you got to copy both sides of a bank statement. It just seems routine to just send the copies through. So if you're close to your lender, they'll come pick it up or, grab it for you. There's some technology, where you can get stuff done pretty quickly. And just be honest and open and get it done as quick as possible because, you don't want disappointment. It's challenging enough out there with the inventory issues, interest rates, which way is it going? We wish we all had a crystal ball. Right now, it's a challenge, and so you want to be in position to maximize your opportunities, because you don't get 4, 5, 6 shots at something in this market. You get 1 or 2. So be ready, and your agents know how to package it. All the specifics like, how do I make my offer look the best? Well, the biggest thing like we have is, I think carries a lot of clout, as well as how you structure your offer, is Security Plus approval. We guarantee the seller your loan's closing on time, or they're going to get $5,000. They pay attention to that when your offer goes in. These are things that are key, not just a nothing. It's significant.
So that is what you get on the flip side of saying, hey, why do you want to do all this work ahead of time? We haven't even found a house yet. We don't know if it's going to work out. What if we do all this work, we get approved, and we gave you all our stuff, and we can't find a house? Well, that's a different, I guess trying to find the house is different, but knowing that we can perform after you've performed, I think that should be a big comfort zone. And the fact that we're willing to put a $5,000 guarantee on that is pretty significant.
Yeah, I love that product because it's saved a deal or won a deal for me specifically because of that. And to make sure everybody understands it, the other product we have out there that I love was Fast as Cash. We can close a loan in 10 days. And that can put, I had a client who had to offer, instead of just doing that to close quickly, to blow everybody away, to compete as a cash offer, he had to offer $50,000 to $100,000 more to get the house.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's things like that that can put you in the system, save you money. And the number one thing is get the home, because that's the real goal. And that's what we all want everybody to happen, because that's where we all get to go to the finish line and celebrate.
Well, and you can manage your mortgage. Your mortgage, it might be a 30-year fixed loan if you go for that, but it's not 30 years, like sentence, like you can't do anything for 30 years. But you can manage that if rates drop, you can refinance or whatever, but you can't necessarily manage the inventory of your market. If you want to buy in Olympia, Washington, or wherever you want to buy, Seattle, and you find that house, and it's at this price range today, I guarantee you're either not going to find that house again, or if you do, it's going to be in a different price range, and it's probably going to go up. Because I found that real estate prices, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they go down. I just think they stop going up sometimes, and then they'll continue going up, but they might plateau versus, oh yeah, and of course there's exceptions, like in 2008, prices, of course, things tumbled, and people in Las Vegas are probably thinking I'm a goofball right now because they saw pretty big in Arizona too. But in general, I think prices will stagnate versus actually decline.
I think what we've seen after we got out of the unicorn years of the pandemic of craziness, I think we've seen the economic laws apply, supply and demand. It's as basic as that. And depending on what markets you're in, can be more intense. I love Thurston County. I think it's still an affordable area, and you can get in and get out, different markets. I think that you just got to be, prepared. The key thing I see is, due to the increase in rates, a lot of people aren't qualified. Now, the ones that are, take advantage of that capability. I'm not telling you to overstretch your situation. A lender will not put you into a position you're not qualified for. There are guidelines and rules that prevent that. Make sure you know what you're doing when you do it, and you're ready to make that move. Those things are huge. Talk with family, make sure you feel comfortable about it, and make sure you know what you want to do. So when you get in there, you're not feeling like it's the wrong thing to do. So be prepared that way. Be prepared with your lender. Get everything lined up and set up, and be on the same page with your agent. Know what you're looking for, because like you said, if that home pops up, be able to grab it. And you may think here's the other thing. When you're talking to a lender, it's never too early to get started, because you get in there and you can get pre-approved, and maybe you decide it's not the right thing to do. That's fine.
Right.
But if you decide, oh, I don't want to buy for 4 or 5 months, and next week you see that house and you missed it.
Yeah, how many times have you had people say, "Oh, I'm not buying until the second half of the year," and then exactly that happens 1 or 2 months, like, "Oh, and they are feeling like, hey, I'm violating my own time frame here, but I can't pass up this opportunity." And I've seen that time and time again. And you're happy to help because they, if that happens, they feel like, hey, I snagged something, I scored something.
I love it when they're in the system and they're shopping. When they come in and say, hey, my neighbors said they're going to sell my house. Got to do it this weekend. Okay, well, I need all your stuff so we can get you done. The best example, I love going off examples because that's real, and I had some clients, past clients, and they said, hey, we're thinking about, this is back in February, we're thinking about maybe buying a home in June. We're thinking about changing, and I found out later because they were expecting a baby, but was a big secret. And so they wanted a bigger home. So I said, well, great. Well, then we should probably get in the system, within a 90-day window of when you want to buy, and then we're ready to roll. And so what happens the following week? Hey, we just bought a house. What? They made an offer over the weekend, so I said, we want to get things rolling. Well, they bought a home that wasn't going to be completed till June, but they bought it. So same thing, and the builder's like, okay, I need all this stuff, but we got it done, and it was exciting. But you never know when you're going to run into that home. They didn't know they're going to buy a new home.
Well, and I would say sometimes when you do it backwards like that, we call it backwards. We think you should get your financing first, then go shopping. If you go shopping and then get your financing after, even if you're extremely well qualified, it still feels like that first week of the transaction, you're really going to be chasing your tail and a little more stressed. Maybe you as the buyer might not, but your lender is going to be stressed trying to get that ready so that they can make your time frame. And so, yeah, I'll just say that, I guess. But
yeah, I hate to define it as stress, but it's nervousness. Whenever you're buying a home, it's a big deal. It's the biggest thing you're going to buy. I mean, typically it should be in a lifetime, depending on what kind of vehicles you're driving. But
if your car, I think hopefully your house is always worth more than your car.
Hopefully, yeah. Bottom line though is, and it's a major thing, and it's a huge opportunity to, build a home buy a home for your family and to grow and go through the phases of life there. It's the ultimate, and be able to change everything you want to do with it. With the gift of home ownership, why people do it. It's incredible. And, but you just want to be ready, and it's never too early. Even if it is too early, we'll say, okay, then you got a chance to prepare. If you have any credit issues, you got a chance to correct them to get the best thing, because that's a factor in pricing, qualification, everything. And it's a chance to sit down and, we're more like a guidance counselor, whatever you want to call it. Our job is to get you through the system in the best way possible, so you can accomplish your goal. And
yeah, sometimes part of that is just explaining the process and saying, hey, here's what your qualification looks like. You are half qualified for what you want. So in order to get what you want, we're going to have to either pay down debts or increase income or wait for rates to drop. I guess those would be pretty much the only three variables in that type of hypothetical. But that's fun. And then you maybe give somebody a chance, or somebody can give themselves a chance of having a goal to work towards, versus saying, hey, I want to buy a house someday. That's a great goal, but once you quantify that and say, hey, I'm going to save $25,000 for a down payment, $10,000 for closing costs, and I'm going to buy this house, now you have a goal to actually work towards versus just a dream.
Well, the other factor, yeah, absolutely. The other factor is what happens to a lot of customers in this changing world is people change their jobs. Opportunities come up, and it could dictate a move, or it could be in the same area, but it's like, well, what happens if I change my job? Does that affect, I was ready to buy a house, now what? So those are key factors that could have a plus or an impact, that could change the outcome of what you're planning on doing. I had a client that solid worked for a job for 12 years, and then I'm moving, and he took a job as a self-employed 1099 employee. Well,
which would require a 2-year employment history.
Exactly. And so he's aware of it. So he knows he's going to a different state. He's going to check out, make sure everything works out with the job. Then he'll be ready to roll. Maybe we can get something done in as early as a year, depending on the situation. But yeah, those things are key. So do not hide anything from your lender. Be as open, as honest with you as you can, so they can perform at a high level for you. And because, like I said, it's our job. there's going to be a question we forget to ask because something has happened in your life that we just, don't know about, or you've received some money or, it's incredible. Over the last 3 months, you've been receiving money for something. Could be an inheritance. Now we have to document that, because all these things come up. So we want to make it as painless and as friendly as possible, but we got to be thorough.
Well, I had a friend, a client, kind of became a buddy, I guess. Anyways, he sold a high-end exhaust for like $10,000. So he had a $10,000 deposit that he was using for his closing costs. I said, "Oh, hey, what's this 10K from?" "Oh yeah, I sold a BMW exhaust. A buddy of mine, I don't know if they fabricated it or what, or if it was just high-end. Anyways, luckily he had a bill of sale, and his friend, they wrote it up and they kept a little record, so we were able to use that income. If he had no record of that, we would have to say, "Oh, we're going to back this 10,000 out, treat it like you don't have it because we can't figure out where it came from."
Or what it's really worth.
Well, it was a $10,000 cash deposit.
Right.
So we're trying to use that. And we could because he documented it. But that was kind of a unique one where he was hoping to use that money and he could have liquidated other stuff, but you don't want to go down that road if you don't have to. And so, yeah, I was thinking, there's no way we're going to be able to use this. There's no way you have a bill of sale. So I called him and said, "Hey, do you have a bill of sale for this?" "Oh yeah."
Thank goodness.
I was surprised, but he's a thorough guy. And so he covered his bases on that one.
He's a rare exception.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Documentation's everything. And you find out that a lot of people trust people and don't get receipts, don't get whatever. And even with large amounts of money. So it's key. Otherwise that could affect the timeline on when you're able to purchase, and those kinds of things. But yeah, it all boils back down to it. I think we've spoken about it before, but it's become more prevalent in this market where everything's, tighter, I think, in a sense of a little bit. Be prepared so you have all the strength in your corner, and the way to do that is sit down with your lender and get everything laid out and be working hand in hand with your agent so you're all on the same page. Hopefully your agent's communicating with your lender so everybody looks toward the same thing, because it's there's specifics that can change things, and we definitely want to help make it happen.
So if anybody watches this podcast or video cast, I guess when there's a camera, it's a video cast. Anyways, how can they work with you? What's the best way to get a hold of you, and what kind of availability are you for anyone that would want to call you or email you?
Call me anytime. I'm not, I don't say 24/7. I'm not awake 24 hours a day. But call me 360-791-5803. That's my cell. You can call that number anytime. I will get back to you as soon as I'm able to. And that's the best thing.
Do you do a text message or preferably a phone call?
Either way.
Okay.
Either way, just tell me who you are, what you need.
Yeah.
If it's a text, phone call, pretty easy to call you back and get back there, because, we work on the weekends. We work in the evenings. We're just like you, that when you have a question, it may not be 2 a.m., but I mean, we'll be available and we'll get back to you. Now you may be on different hours since you got a 6-month-old. You may be up at 2 a.m. But the thing is it's time is of the essence when you're shopping and getting prepared. So you want to get stuff in order. Feel free to call on the weekends. That's the best time to get and do, get an online app in and get things rolling. So on Monday morning, we can get you into the underwriters right away and get it done quickly. So, and we use all the tools we have, all of our resources behind us. We like to say we do this. No, it's our support team, our ops team. They're incredible, and getting the credit pulled. And the other thing, oh my gosh, make sure you hit the opt-out buttons on these credit reports. We'll advise you on that, how to do it, so you can avoid. We just had a coworker. She's in the process of a refinance. The second day, got 70 phone calls on her cell phone from creditors.
My most recent client experienced the same thing, and we thought he opted out like 6 months ago, so we didn't do it this time, and he just got blown up.
That's another step of doing it in advance. Because it takes more than 30 minutes for that to take effect. So we advise you to do that a week in advance and get it done so everything's covered. And we have a few other techniques to help that work. But those are key things to make it a pleasant experience. It's unbelievable. We've been in the business a long time to see that happen to folks.
And let's explain this. So when you have your credit pulled, the credit bureaus sell your information, and then it'll cause what's called a trigger lead. All these people that'll have signed up for trigger leads will say, "Hey, anyone that's credit is over 680 that's shopping for a mortgage that's in these like 7 different categories, send me their information." And they'll pay for that. And then as soon as they get a notification, that gets you on robocallers and you just get annihilated.
All electronic, text messages, phone calls. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's
and so that's not us, but we do
No.
have a way of, since we need a credit
Circumventing that.
report to do our
Yeah.
job, we have found a method to help people opt out and get this. And they can opt out for this one or for like a permanent or a 5-year. There's a couple different ways to do it.
Yeah, and it's you definitely want to do this whether you're shopping for a home or not. Check with your lender and get those links. We can send them to you to help you out for any reason.
Oh yeah, it's just anybody that hears this right now, just call us and
Yeah,
get the link for that.
You're shopping for a car or anything, would definitely help you. It's a tough detail, to go through those things because you want to go through the process. You might be nervous about it and stressful about it, but it's just get through it. When you get pounded by somebody else for no reason, yeah, not a good thing. So we'll help prevent that, so you can get through this process.
And we'll also, last thing I'll say here is we'll try to narrow our advice down to suit you specifically. This industry or the mortgage whole deal is like pretty complex. An individual person needs to know about 10% of it for their own scenario. They don't need to know everything they could be qualified for. I mean, if they're curious, they want a couple of options, let's give them the best forward. But really, there's going to be 2 or 3 options that stick out. And not overcomplicating it, just say, hey, this is what's important for you. If you have more questions, let me know, and we can go in any direction you want. But this is what I think. And that's also part of us as being advisors. If you like our advice and the way we do things, then that's a fit. And if you don't, you don't. And that's fine too. Different strokes for different folks kind of things. But yeah.
Well, granted, we want to work with you. So, tell us what your goals are, tell us what things are, and we'll work toward those things. And obviously the approval is based on real data, so we'll get that done. Then we can get the flexibility as to what you want to do, leverage-wise, those specifics, and we'll go to the nth degree to get that done. But it's just get in there, get prepared, be prepared, get it done, and put your best foot forward. And like I said, it's never too early to start. If you're not going to buy it for 6 months, that's fine. Get it done now so and you can put all the pieces into position to make it a happy experience for you. And just get started.
Great.
Oh, hey, one last thing. That's going back to that credit that I almost forgot to say. One thing they do here at Evergreen is we can do a soft pull, so all those trigger leads don't get triggered. So we can get one bureau pulled, so we can get the basic credit score to know if
can we do that on all loan types, or is that just VA?
All loan types.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, we can even get the Security Plus approval done through Freddie Mac with a soft pull. So that we can get you with all the power to get it done. But in reality, if there's any question, and if it's that close, we're going to want to do the full credit report because if there's any loose end out there, we want to make sure it's covered.
But you could do a soft pull and then get the opt-out filled out and then wait 2 weeks and say, hey, we think we're pretty much good. We've only seen 1 out of 3 bureaus, so there's a chance that there's a weird credit score in here. But based on what we see now, it looks good. Let's start shopping, and then we'll confirm once our opt-out has gone through.
Absolutely. The only time is if a ratio is 49.9%.
Yeah, if you're right at the max limit of your qualification.
Then I'm gonna recommend, hey guys, I want to insure this for you. I don't want any disappointment, so we're going to have to check on that. But
anytime you're at the max of your qualification and rates are not going down, you're going to have to check your pre-approval every day. If you need to spend every last penny you're qualified for, you got to check that every single day. Or at least anytime you want to make an offer or do some shopping. If you're only shopping on the weekends, you don't need to check rates Monday through Thursday. But you probably check Thursday, Friday. Call your lender every Thursday, Friday if you're going to shop that weekend.
Yeah, if you find an address, send it in to them. Find out what the PITI is. You're qualifying for a payment, not a loan amount. Right. They can't say, hey, you're qualified for X. You're qualified for a payment. So we got to make sure that fits within your current debt structure. And that's as tight as it gets today. So you want to be that specific. And so some, it doesn't matter. You've got a lot of cushion. Others that are close, you definitely want to deal with it. When you find something of interest, shoot it in there, run the exact numbers and the targeted closing date so you know how much cash is required to close. what title and escrow company you're going to use, get it all wrapped up. And that's great because the local title and escrow companies get us numbers back quickly so we can run the real numbers for you, whatever you might be looking at. So, yeah, it's a good time.
Great. Okay, well, I think we'll wrap this one up here. Go get some more work done and see if we can help anyone out this weekend. And we'll be here next week on the next podcast.
Speaking of good times, the Mariners are the #1 team in the American League right now, and they play tonight with a chance. They're one game out of first place in the Western Division. Unreal. Who would have said that 3 weeks ago? You wouldn't have believed them. And it's a great time. Plus, the other great news is a week from tomorrow, the Huskies kick off against Boise State. Go Dogs. We're ready to roll. And the Seahawks play tomorrow, Green Bay at like 10 a.m. So if you're into sports this weekend, there's a lot to think about. Also, the weather's going to be great. Now that this rain's cleared everything out.
Yeah, and hopefully not too smoky, not too hot. We'll get some good temps and have some time to relax.
Right on.
Okay,
see you next weekend. All right.